Thousands of college students filled American campuses over the weekend to support the cries of freedom in Iran. Just take a look at some of the video. Now, guys, play the video of the protests. There is, according to the control room, no video. We don't have any video because it never happened.
I can't make heads nor tails of why the group that is so concerned about genocide and so concerned about the rights of individuals are so silent on this.
They think that fundamentally the West and America is evil. So everything that we do only creates more evil in essence. And that's why they're able to coalesce around what's going on here.
While all of this is going on in Iran, do you know what they're broadcasting?
Oh,
Tucker.
They're broadcasting Tucker.
Yeah. Yeah. While the people are being slaughtered in the streets, that's what they're broadcasting is Tucker Carlson. Who's starting?
You're starting, Jillian.
Jillian is.
Am I starting?
It's on the
I know,
paperwork.
but Sage was on the paperwork, and we just lost her. Now I'm discombobulated. I don't know.
I've got JM. I believe that stands for
All
Jillian
right,
Michaels.
okay. Good. Well, I mean, I guess we're saving the best for last, which would be, who would that? I'm going to say Drew. Dave.
Well,
I
that
don't know
seems
about best. Last for last.
Okay.
My
Here we
God,
go.
Drew, are you all right?
In.
You got the bubonic? What's going on over there?
I've had this thing for a month, and my son's entire household and his 1-year-old child, everybody got influenza A, the H3N2, and we were quite exposed to it. So I got on Tamiflu, and I think this is that influenza A trying to get me. I think that's what it is, but I feel good, and I'm on the Tamiflu, so I'll keep you posted.
Doc.
All right,
Oh
let's
my
see if we can
gosh.
slog through.
Yeah. We were discussing some anecdotal remedies behind the scenes. Do you think it's appropriate to share, or is it quote medical advice?
I'll let you talk about the particulars you use, but people should be
Okay.
aware that the way viruses get in, respiratory virus, particularly aerosolized ones, is they get into the nose, into the hair cells, replicate there for about 3 days. So you essentially have 3 days to rinse it out. That's why neti pot or betadine solutions and various xylitol wellness company has a nasal spray I've been using, and it helps dislodge the virus. Even if it takes a foothold, it tends to help reduce the viral load.
It is the one thing that has kept me alive thus far during the flu season. Because
Jillian would be dead, Dave, if she did not, if she were to ever get the flu.
Thank God for xylitol.
You say that? Dave, I'm surprised one of your little boogers has not put you in the hospital yet. Because Phoenix, when he was that age, she put me in the hospital. He had the stomach flu, gave it to me. I was then vulnerable to influenza B. Then I got pneumonia off of that. Mind you, I was working like 18-hour days at the time. But, now, now don't mess around. And whenever somebody in this house is sick, I immediately start with the neti pot, and I use distilled water. I nuke it anyway, microwave it as well, just in case there's anything in there.
If you're doing the steam, but if you're going to do the nasal lavage, it has to be saline. The regular water is too caustic.
Well, I add the saline to it.
Okay, good.
So I'll do distilled water. Then I put a saline pack in it. Then I put a drop of betadine in there, and it's worked well. Although I get sick every single February on my birthday, I am on death's door. So I have about a month until I'm in the hospital. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. So Drew, you got to get better quick so that we don't lose both of you guys. And obviously Sage isn't here today. I'll just throw in one thing on the health front, even though I'm definitely not the expert out of the three of us. With these 2-3-year-olds here, every time we take them to the park, you're basically throwing them into the petri dish from hell, and everyone's sick all the time. And it's this rotating thing that the second one of them feels better, then the next one gets sick, then one of us gets sick. It's just kind of how it is. But I'll tell you, I mean, this is just old school wisdom. But having David's mom down here making just fresh chicken soup all the time, I don't know if it's an old wives' tale or what, but we just basically have that going all the time. And I've fortunately, stayed healthy. So we shall see.
There are some mechanisms there. I'm not going to take us too far off piece, but I think a good Google search would reveal there is some science behind what you're saying, David.
bone broth, Yeah.
Dave. All right, team. I'm jumping in. I'm starting the show.
Okay.
Here we go. You can cut all that shit out that is
No,
probably
it
boring.
stays.
No, it's interesting and good for people to
Yeah.
hear that stuff. It's good.
Really? All right. Well,
Yeah.
this I love. God bless JK Rowling. She is such a badass. I wonder if it's the billions of dollars that have made her so wildly courageous. She went viral this week again for a tweet regarding the uprising in Iran that says, if you claim to support human rights, yet can't bring yourself to show solidarity with those fighting for their liberty in Iran, you've revealed yourself. You don't give a damn about people being oppressed and brutalized so long as it's being done by the enemies of your enemies. And I want to take you now to this video by our mutual friend, Leland Vittert. Take a look at this. In the beginning, I took the bait on it. Let me know if you do.
In an incredible display of bravery, thousands of college students filled American campuses over the weekend to support the cries of freedom in Iran. Just take a look at some of the video. No. Guys, play the video of the protests. Oh. No, there is, according to the control room, no video. We don't have any video because it never happened. What we do have is all those college protests that came after the October 7th massacre in Israel. Thousands of protesters took to their campuses, beat people up, took over buildings to condemn the Israeli government. But now, as the Iranian regime kills their own citizens fighting for freedom, those same college students and feminists are totally silent.
And then I got one
Bravo,
more.
Leland.
Right? One more for perspective. And I got to tell you, there is not a day that goes by that I don't desperately miss Charlie Kirk. I had no idea the way this guy was holding things together. Here was his take on the matter. Last clip.
What do you actually know about Iran? Persia was a great power, and then Iran took a turn for the worst. Interestingly enough, there was the Shah of Iran, and then the Shah was displaced by Mossadegh. Mossadegh was democratically elected. Now, to be very fair, the United States and Britain got rid of Mossadegh, and then we reinstalled the Shah. Bad decision, which then led to the Iranian Revolution, where radical Islam took over Iran. Look at some of these pictures of what Iran used to be. It was wealthy, it was proud, it was strong. The Persians are wonderful people. Some of my closest friends are Persians, and I love the Persian people. And we should have a heart for the Persian people to try and have a better future. Regime change is very difficult to talk about. I actually don't like talking about regime change. It's very complicated, but understand that there can be brighter days ahead for the Iranian people. And just look at some of these pictures of how beautiful Iran used to be, how beautiful Tehran used to be. And it's very easy to kind of sit in your Western armchair and be like, oh, Israel's terrible. Well, you were able to enjoy free speech rights and a lot of rights here in the West that Iran used to have. And if you are serious about actually protecting human rights, you should want to make Iran Western again.
Go ahead,
Well,
guys.
somebody's
Weigh
got
in
to
on
explain
this.
to me. I can't make heads nor tails of why the group that is so concerned about genocide and so concerned about the rights of individuals are so silent on this. I just can't.
You know the answer, Drew.
No, I really
You know
can't.
the
I really
answer.
don't. I don't get it because it's so egregious what's going on there. What would they say? Just it's a country solving its own problems, and we don't have any right to say anything because it's within the boundaries of that country. But boundaries shouldn't exist anyway. But okay.
Sure. So there would be some version of that, and they would say, American imperialism, and this is what we do, and we created the mess, and everything we do will make it worse, and blah, blah, blah. So this is a little bit where the sort of, what people talk about, the horseshoe theory of politics that we've discussed before comes around, because you've got sort of on the right, you have a certain like libertarian strain that, wants America completely isolationist and everything else. And by the way, you can have a principled position, I would say, around that. It's not my position, but you could have a philosophic notion of America that just is completely separate from the world. I think it's sort of amateurish in reality, but it is what it is. On the left side, they think that fundamentally the West and America is evil. So everything that we do only creates more evil in essence. And that's why they're able to coalesce around what's going on here. But there's a couple things there. First, Jillian, you mentioned JK at the top, and that she's a billionaire. So maybe that's why she says what she wants. And I got to tell you, I know a few billionaires in my years doing this. And, you know, we'd all like to think that everyone would have enough money one day and then what they call FU money, where you would just say whatever you want and blah, blah, blah. But I know that a lot of these people, not all of them, a lot of them, the more they attain, the more that, and in some sense this is true, they think they have to lose, thus they actually get quieter. So for her to take the positions that she's taken, particularly on the trans stuff, and then be sort of pushed out of her own Harry Potter world that she created, and then be right on this as well is just wonderful. And she completely makes the point about the enemies and my enemies. I think she nails that. But it's also, what I think this has really done is just completely unmasked the hysterical, you know, sort of Palestinian movement rally craziness that we've been dealing with for the last couple of years. Because let's say you think that's the most just cause. Okay, fine. I don't agree with that, but okay, you think that's the most just cause. Why do you have no room for these people? You have no room for 20,000 people that have died, and it's probably many more by the time we post this, because we're recording this on Wednesday. It'll be up on Friday, and we know the government's in a massive crackdown right now. And what that tells you is that it's an ideology more than something that's connected to reality, right? So I have, and one other thing, when Charlie said the thing about regime change, you know, there's an interesting thing here, because regime change in the old days, it's sort of what we did in the United States, meaning we went into Libya. Obama did it, by the way, without congressional authorization. We just took out Gaddafi, and now Libya is a failed state. We did go into Iraq. We had UN support and blah, blah, blah. But the people weren't ready, really, to fully take over. What's happening in Iran is completely different, because the people that Charlie was talking about, the Persian people who have been subjugated under the mullahs, under the Ayatollah and a radical Islamic theology, they have been protesting. They're the ones rising up. So the issue is, can we tilt things in their favor, not put troops on the ground and everything else? And I'm not even saying any of it would work, but this is a ground up thing versus what happened in Libya, where we just took out the leader and expected something good to happen. Or even when we took out Iraq, took out Saddam, there wasn't enough on the ground. This is completely different. I just said 27
Does
things.
Venezuela have enough going on the ground? Because it's very similar, and they got thoroughly flattened. So they're not rising up because they've been going on for too long.
Well, then I think generally Venezuelans are happy about this. There's going to be a strange transition period here. But the other part about Venezuela, we talked about it last week, they don't have like sectarian religious warfare on the streets.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a largely monolithic population. And if we go in there and help them build some institutions, they're energy rich, and it's going to be great for them. But we'll see.
To me, it's the selective outrage that, you know, I have wanted to stay so far away from this subject matter of Gaza and the Middle East. You have to be an expert on it. And unfortunately, it has dominated every news story. And as a former liberals tend to lean into protecting the people that are the minority and the ones that are unilaterally and unfairly bullied. And that has revealed itself to me over the past couple of years to be the Jews. I have not wanted to get involved in any of this. But when it's like, oh, you know, AIPAC, well, they need to register as foreign agents. Okay, well, then I come to learn that it's a group of Americans. And they're not actually foreign agent, but that, you know, Ukrainians, Indians, the Greek people, they all have their own version of AIPAC, and they haven't registered as foreign agents. Oh, I'm so mad. They've spent so much money lobbying our politicians. It is a fraction of what Saudi spends, Qatar spends, UAE spends. I'm outraged at the genocide, at the slaughter, at the murder. And you're like, this is terrible. I understand. And then when it's time to be outraged, when you see Hamas beheading their own people after the ceasefire, crickets. That's the part that I'm like, this is bullshit. You're a liar. You're either getting paid by Qatar, period,
or somebody.
End of story. And it's
or
so
an NGO of some type.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, that's one more thing. Oh, you guys are getting paid by Israel. What, $7,000? I mean, I literally just watched Chucker talk about how outrageous it was to see, I think it was Christian ministers going to Israel. It's like, weren't you just sitting in Qatar? Like, it's the hypocrisy is blinding. Wake
I don't want to go too
up. I know, sorry.
I don't want to go too far on Tucker, but I did see that video. And for him to say that, Christian preachers go to Israel because Israel is the home of a guy by the name of Jesus Christ. And that's where he was born and that's where he was crucified. And it is quite literally the genesis of of Judaism, obviously, but Christianity as well. And Israel is the country that defends their right to do that. I don't know if you guys have been to Jerusalem and been to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It's one of the most meaningful things, whether you're Jewish, Christian, atheist, or whatever, to just walk in the steps of history is incredible. But yeah, you're totally right, Jillian. These guys.
One more thing, D.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to do Tucker, but while all of this is going on in Iran, do you know what they're broadcasting?
Oh,
Tucker.
We're broadcasting Tucker.
So the Islamic regime right now is literally broadcasting Tucker Carlson interviews in Persian on their 24-hour news channel. The country is in a state of chaos, and yet for some reason, the Islamic regime is choosing to play Tucker Carlson interviews because this is like, it's Islamist propaganda. I'm just filming this right now because if I didn't do this, no one would believe. This is literally what's going on in occupied Iran right now.
Yeah. While the people are being slaughtered in the streets, that's what they're broadcasting is Tucker Carlson. So, listen, I'm for zero foreign influence, 100%. I'm against slaughter and terrible things happening to good people. But let's apply that outrage unilaterally, and that's where I call bullshit.
And I think I want to go back to your thing about JK Rowling too, because the one thing that she has always been is principled. That whatever happened to principles? Ideology is some story. Ideology is some fairy tale, right? Always. It's a fairy tale that humans tell themselves. But principles tend to be based in something empiric, if not factual. And she's always been operating from a principle. She has never diverted. And she has you money. And as Adam Carolla points out, he doesn't want to have you money. He wants to have me money. Anyway, he's always pointing that out. But I think that does give her,
my stance.
At the very minimum, it gives you the freedom to be able to say, well, if they come after me, I'm going to sue them. Yeah. I can defend myself. I'm going to get some lawyers and I'm going to spend my money that way.
And I would also say, Jillian, this is where, and I don't do this often because in a weird way, I don't think it's useful, but this is where it does the whole Gaza thing and everything else and the lack of response to Iran. It is because of the Jews. They say no Jews, no news. And the truth is, meaning the truth is that there's one country in the world that's held to completely unattainable standards. And no other country is held to any standards. And that tells you something, right? Like that tells you that these people have an unhealthy obsession with this place. And the irony is, by the way, if the mullahs fall, if the Ayatollah goes into exile, if the Persian people, mostly Persian people, if they take their country back, all of their terror proxies across the Middle East have been destroyed because of Israel. Like there actually could be real peace. It doesn't mean it's going to be everybody's playing shesh all the time, but it could actually be peace. So we'll see.
One last question to throw out there. Why do you think the other Arab nations are not getting involved? They don't like Iran. Saudi does not like Iran. Why don't they help?
They've always played this little game, right? It seems like I've seen it all the way. They really hate the Shias, and they really don't want them to go on and have a country there, and they really would like the United States to step in. And they probably are supporting us somehow financially behind the scenes, but they do not feel that they can take on another Arab country. They just don't do it. Even the Persian country.
Right. That's the irony of Iran is not an Arab country, actually. It's not a Muslim country either, but it does loom large over there. Look, if you think about it, a country like Lebanon in the 70s was predominantly, I think, around 80% Christian. Now it's, I think, around 20% Christian because radical Islam took over. So the average person in Lebanon probably doesn't want Hezbollah sitting in there, basically as a puppet government there that's going to cause a war every couple of years. But the thing is, unless America does something And in that world, unless Israel does something, no one does anything. France isn't helping anybody.
Oh
UK is not helping anybody.
But
Belgium's
Dave,
not helping anybody. And even in the Middle East, no one's coming to help anybody.
So hold on. So this is really what has me kind of concerned. And people are, I don't know, when you go here, listen to the Golden Globes, and they're all, oh my God, I can't believe this is not my country, blah, blah, blah. And I would never really know what they're talking about. But one of the things I could imagine they would be nervous about is what feels like kind of recklessness. It feels like it. I'm not saying it is. And that we seem to be going a lot of directions very fast. Does that concern you, that we're going to Greenland and Iran and Venezuela and Cuba and Mexico? It feels too much to me, but what do I know?
Okay, let me tell you guys about parasites, because what if I told you that parasites could be living inside you right now, causing tumors and severe neurological problems without you even realizing that they're the culprit? Most doctors are not trained to look at root cause issues, but Dr. Peter McCullough, I think Drew knows a little something about him, one of America's leading medical experts, recently highlighted a shocking case in the New England Journal of Medicine where a man went blind in one eye from a parasitic worm. We're learning across areas of medical expertise that parasites are a real and growing threat. These are not third world issues. The CDC actually has even admitted that millions of Americans suffer from parasitic infections that often go undetected until they cause cancer, seizures, or even heart failure. This supports the argument that we should do a medical-grade parasite cleanse at least once a year. The wellness company's ivermectin and mebendazole parasite cleanse is a doctor-prescribed USA compounded gold standard combination designed to help the body eliminate all types of parasites. One cycle's only 21 days, but you'll get a 90-day supply with your purchase. The process is fully digital. You just fill out a personal intake form. A doctor will review it, and your cleanse will arrive within a week. Be proactive with the wellness company's parasite cleanse. Head on over to twc.health/friends and use code FRIENDS to get $60 off. Again, that's twc.health/friends and use code FRIENDS to get $60 off. USA residents only. Cleanse your body today. Well, I would say something that I pretty much consistently say on the show, which is Donald Trump is doing a lot of things, and he's doing a lot of things well. And he's also running up against the clock, because if the Republicans lose the midterms, he's basically hung out to dry for 2 years, and this incredible turnaround of the country is pretty much over. So I think he is, there's looks maxing. That's what the kids are doing now. He's like foreign policy maxing right now. And to this point, it basically has all been good. He's throwing out all the old rules of all the things that we all complain about. He's doing it in a completely different way. Let's not forget, Jillian, I'll mention him one more time. Tucker was telling us that if we did anything in Iran, or if Israel attacked Iran, it was going to be thermonuclear World War III.
Yes.
And it was a 12-day war that all we had to do at the end was send a couple of B-2 bombers, which was so freaking cool. They couldn't even see them, and they finished that thing off. So it's like, believe in America again. That's what I think. I'm not saying it will all be right.
You said it's not been done this way before. In fact, it has been. You need look no further than Truman and Theodore Roosevelt, and it has absolutely been done precisely like this.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's not that it's never been done before. It's that they don't believe we can do good things anymore, and that's partly because of the last 30 years of misadventures.
I don't think that's it. I think he's getting paid to say that shit. I'm sorry.
Oh.
That is my opinion.
Tucker, he's buying a house in Qatar, and
Yeah, come on. It was 12 days. In fact, I had this debate with Ana Kasparian. Obviously, when the 12-day war was going on. Listen, I would constantly listen. Hear me out. And there were many times, because I didn't know enough about any of this at the time, which is why I often wanted somebody like you, Dave, or Coleman Hughes, or Scott Jennings to provide the other point of view. Because I was like, I'm not an expert in this. I don't know. I can't refute the things you're saying. Having said that, with Iran, knowing Trump's history, his former, I'm sorry, not his former, but his first 4 years, his position on taking out Soleimani, bankrupting Iran, I'd said, I think you got to give him a chance. I don't think this becomes a forever war. And she adamantly was like, yes, it does. And you're wrong. And I was like, all right, if it turns out not to be, will you eat your words? Yes. Do you think that day has come?
When we inevitably get dragged into this war, when we inevitably end up spending tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions, if not $1 trillion, depending on how long that war with Iran lasts, Will you guys come back on this show and at least admit I was right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Conversely,
hold on
though,
a second.
if it ends within 6 months,
Yep.
and Iran is defanged in the Abraham Accord, this is a pipe dream. I get it. But if it ends within 6 months, Iran is defanged. I don't know if there'll be a regime change. I have no idea. I haven't heard talk of that yet. Obviously, I know that we wouldn't be hearing that because nobody is for that. In fact, Trump denied involvement because it's so friggin' unpopular. I get it. But if in 6 months this is resolved, it's like Soleimani, it came, it went, Iran is defanged, and the Abraham Accords are expanded, will you admit that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Do you think it was, I'm wrong, I was wrong? No. And so my thing with regard to what you're saying, Drew, is I've learned to sit back and wait it out with Trump. On Venezuela, I'm like, all right, let's see what happens.
Yeah,
I'm
listen,
going to wait it out.
That's my point.
I
He
don't know
knows.
yet.
Look, he has the world's greatest advisors. He knows. What do I know? I'm sitting here in Pasadena. What possibly could I know that would be meaningfully contributive to what his decision making? And so far, so good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the last thing I'll say on it is with Venezuela. I was like, well, I mean, the Maduro regime is still on the ground. Mike Baker was teaching me all about this, and I said I'm going to sit back and wait to form an opinion on this one. So far, so good. No boots on the ground. No former Maduro regime slaughtering everybody. Obviously, it's going to take years to see how this plays out. But it certainly didn't implode instantaneously the way that the Tucker Carlsons of the world would have you believe over and over and over again. This guy is no longer a credible source of information. He is just a paid propaganda machine.
And to be fair,
I'm so done
tell
with
us how
him.
you actually
I am
feel,
done.
Jillian. Tell
I'm
us
done.
really, how do you feel about
he's
him?
Well, Jillian had a great piece in
evil
Daily
in the
Mail
world for
that
money, and
explains
it's
all
gross. Enough.
But
we called it out with the left, and now we're calling out with the alt-right. And he is definitely the tip of that spear, him and Fuentes.
To do maybe a more measured kind of sort of a recommendation for the world. If people don't make good predictions, that's a tell. They may not know what they're talking about. And people's predicting capacity should be what we look to as how well they know what they're talking about.
He knows
Drew,
what
I
he's
think-
talking
I think
about,
that-
Drew. He
I
knows
think that's a great point.
exactly
Yeah.
what he's talking about.
'Cause-
You think he really believes that we were going to go and kill Maduro for gay marriage?
The global
I know, all
homo.
right,
What's wrong with that? But listen, the fact is though that he made predictions. They were bad. Why he made them,
fair.
not our problem.
Okay, Doc.
They were bad.
Good point.
Take note,
point.
Dave. What were you saying? That's a good point.
Well, I think that's a great point, and it's worth noting because look, we're all paid in this space. Our jobs are to tell people what we think, right? It doesn't mean we're going to be right all the time. But one of the things that I'm more than happy to be judged on is my track record. It's not that I've gotten everything right, and I've certainly mispredicted election results. And, I backed DeSantis, let's say, in the Republican primary. So you're going to get political things wrong. But one thing that I'm very proud of is that in terms of all of the big issues, virtually all of them, I've always been directionally right on them. Whether it was COVID stuff that I was very early, I mean, all three of us were in different ways. And obviously, particularly for you, Drew, that was like a massive wake up. But like, I've been directionally right in things. And to me, if you're a discerning viewer of all of the podcasts that are out there that you can listen to, you'd want to think and be like, all right, well, is this person directionally right? To me, that's the phrase that makes sense. Like, it doesn't mean they're going to get everything right. And it doesn't mean that you agree with their ideology completely. But do you understand why they think something? And when it turns out in a certain direction, were they headed there? And I think that I'm very proud of my track record in that way. I think you guys probably also have very good track records in that sense.
But by the same token,
and we don't belittle our audiences.
But by the same token, I look for opportunities to point out where I've been wrong and to apologize. I think that is part of being right. You show where you're wrong, you learn from it, you call it out. And by the way, in looking for that, it helps refine my position. I had to apologize to Naomi Wolf and Jenny McCarthy. I've had to apologize a bunch. Probably both of you at some point. I'll apologize about something. But
I'd like an apology, Drew.
I'll think of something. I'm sorry I haven't come to Florida yet, but that's I'm apologizing to myself about that one. But it helps you. It helps you really. But first of all, it's a what's the word I'm looking for? Where you're living a certain kind of life. It's being virtuous. It's being a model for other people, but it refines your thinking and it helps with your prediction making.
Can I say
Yeah,
one last thing about the
I-
money? I'm sorry, D.
No, go
I
ahead.
actually don't make money doing this. I have made money in fitness over the course of my career and strategically investing in better for you companies. I have uniformly turned down money from everything from big pharma to big food. I have like 3 advertisers on my podcast, and one is for Mongolian cashmere sweaters, and one is for bras, and one is for Shopify. Like, I never, ever, I lose money doing my podcast because it costs so much for all the production and this and the that and the this. So at the end of the day, I get it, and everybody needs to make a living and they need to cover their nut, and that's great. But for the first time ever, I actually got an invite to Israel. And I was like, I've been there. I loved it. I've also been to Palestine. It was very eye-opening. This was many moons ago. And I was like, but as much as I would love to go back, I'm not going to take the trip fully, all expenses paid. I was like, I appreciate it, but I will not be able to speak with authenticity and integrity if I went. I just won't compromise that at all. So I don't know, Dave. I reject the fact that everybody is getting paid. I get what you mean.
Well,
you make your
I didn't
living
mean
this
we
way,
get paid.
but
I didn't mean we get paid for particular opinions. I mean we make our
Yeah,
livings doing this.
clarify that.
Obviously, you had a long, illustrious career
clarify that
before
shit.
this. Yeah, I didn't mean we're getting paid for. I meant we
I
make
know.
our living telling people what we think, and people should judge us according to that. That's just a reality. Not that the
Yeah.
bra company is telling Jillian Michaels what to say. I don't think. Are they, Jillian?
Well, I mean,
The Mongolian sweater company was the one that caught my ear.
Can I tell you how many times I've talked about that damn cashmere Mongolian sweater? It's a good sweater. All right, we should move on. I'm sorry. I had maybe a little too much coffee today.
Jillian
I'll just take
sells
one more
the
sip. And
breast bras on the market. Jillian, we went a little far on that one. You want to keep going,
I'm
or should
sorry.
I just jump
What are
in
you
here?
laughing at, Jillian?
Just saying, I'm like, what happened to me? I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, can you believe that at 51, I still have that time of the month? I'm like, it must be tomorrow. I don't track it because I'm obviously not getting pregnant for a host of reasons. But I'm like, what the fuck got into me today? Like, what? Okay, I'm going to be quiet now and let you guys take us to the next.
Perimenopause is a good bit worse than everything that comes before it. So maybe.
You think that's it? I don't know.
You seem fine to me. I mean, we like you like this.
Maybe I've just bottled this up for so long because I really resisted getting into the mud with these people, but it's like at some point it becomes the same exact thing we were fighting on the left. It becomes about fighting bad ideas. And so anyway.
You know what
all
it
right.
is, Jillian? It's did you guys see, you probably saw, just a sidebar for a second, that, Bongino is stepping away from the FBI and he's coming back to his radio show. So he's tweeting a little more, and now he's been, a lot of people are coming after him and he's fighting with them. And the energy he's coming at them with is such unleashed, over the top.
Yes, I saw that.
Assault.
Yes.
And I love him. I've always done stuff with him through Rumble and Locals for years, and I've always had great respect for him. And him and I have gotten into slogging fights over things over the years, but business wise, but always have had the friendship and respect there. It was never personal. And it's interesting because what you just said there is, why is this coming out of me? And it's like, because you're trying not to be part of it, and they keep hitting you, and they keep hitting you, and they keep hitting you, and they keep hitting you.
Yeah.
And now he, who has had to be quiet as a member of the government for a year and just take the hit, take the hit. Now he's back and he's ready to punch. So, they can push you so far, and then it depends what kind of person you are. You either start pushing back or you completely fold. I think we know what kind of person you are, Jillian.
I guess so. All right. What are we talking about next?
One thing you are not, Jillian, unless I've completely misjudged what's going on here, is a billionaire, unfortunately.
No,
Apparently,
unfortunately,
because your
no.
podcast isn't making enough cash. Well, in California, you're also not a Californian, and Drew, although you are not a billionaire as far as I know, you are a Californian, but the California billionaires are heading on out. Listen to this from Chamath Palihapitiya. He was a great tech investor, but also one of the hosts of the All In podcasts. He wrote, this is related to the billionaire tax. Don't say we didn't warn you. It's only an absolutely horrible idea that makes Peter Thiel, Sergey Brin, Larry Page, Reid Hoffman, David Sachs, and Gavin Newsom all agree. The proposed billionaire tax will blow a massive hole in the California deficit and ruin the tech economy in California. The middle class will then be forced to pay for it if this passes because all of the rich people are leaving. It's mathematical at this point. Newsom needs to find a way to balance the budget and shelve this wealth tax from ever making it to the ballot. So, guys, we don't have to get into all the minutia of the wealth tax, but it's also an exit tax if you don't get out in time, basically as of December 31st, 2025. Thiel, I saw Thiel a few days ago here in Miami, and he's officially here. This is not someone who had any, he very famously about 7, 8 years ago took his companies out of San Francisco and moved them to LA because San Francisco was so bad. He did not think that only, 7 years later, he'd have to take the entire operation out. This is to the backdrop of Elon getting out of there. So all of the producers that are gonna bring in tax dollars on top of just have good people around them that are good for communities and everything, they are getting the high hell out of there. And where are they going? Well, of course, it's basically Miami and Austin. So Florida and Texas's win will be Cali's loss. Drew.
So there are two aspects of this that people need to zero in on. One is in California, 95% of the tax dollars are provided by 5% of the population. That's the way we are structured here in California. They're going to erode if not half, certainly a big percentage of that 5%. I don't know what the hell they're going to do, number one. And number two, this is a brand new kind of tax. We've never had tax law like this before, or tax, what is it? What should we call it? Tax policy like this.
Tax policy code,
So
yeah.
literally, your belongings can be, I know Mamdami's people would love this, your belongings can be usurped by the government just because. They'll take it down 5% per year. Are they going to do it every year? Is it a one-time thing? They'll do it, and eventually it'll be everybody, and eventually it'll be every year, because that's the way this state always goes. So it's breathtaking. It's not going to be good for this state.
It's so incredible. It's so incredible that people like Gavin Newsom, who likely is the Democrat nominee for the next presidential election, think that kicking these people out, because that's what he's doing. He's kicking them out. You're making it unlivable because, a certain you might be watching this going, well, they're billionaires, so who cares if they lose 10% more or 20% more or 50% more? And as they also pointed out on the, as David Friedberg, who is one of the co-hosts of All In, pointed out, they're calling it a billionaires tax because they're great at messaging. Most of us are not billionaires. So even if you're a millionaire or you're just doing pretty damn well, you're like, screw the billionaires. Yeah, tax the hell out of them. And then what you're actually doing is voting in the things that ultimately will take your money. But Jillian, you're not a billionaire and you don't live in Cali.
I know. I was trying to find, as we were talking, which oil company recently pulled out of California. It seems though, when I searched it, they all have.
Yeah.
So ExxonMobil,
they have
Chevron,
because he
Valero.
made it impossible to refine oil here, or we shut down the refineries. And then we wonder why prices are up here. We can't create the oil. We can't create the gasoline. And
do you know how much gas is here in Jackson?
Yeah,
it's $2.60 a gallon.
You know what it is here? For $6. $6. He has a $2 plus tax on everything. Plus, it's generally $4 just because of what he's done to the oil. And then he claims that it's gouging by the oil companies. That's his claim.
Right.
Right.
This is disgusting. We got
This is what they. This is what they do with when it's, remember when Biden was doing the Inflation Reduction Act, but it actually caused inflation to go up. They kept saying, well, the grocery stores are gouging prices, as if the guy who's running the grocery store, whether it's Whole Foods or a mom and pop or anything else, is suddenly like, yes, now I see the perfect conditions to screw the people. No, they want to sell stuff. It's the government that gets in the way.
One last thing I want to say, though, is I wish I could remember which exact company it was, because it was very recent. I think it actually might be Valero. And I guess the CEO of the company had messaged Newsom before the big announcement that they were pulling out. And he wanted to give him a heads up and kind of let him know why he was making the choice, so Newsom wouldn't be caught off guard. And he basically said something to the effect of, like, do you want to talk about it? And Newsom, snubbed him, was like, oh, good. Like, the guy behaves like a toddler. Did you hear the story about when Kamala Harris reached out to him when she was running for president, and he texted her back and was like, "Sorry, I'm hiking," and never got back to her.
Yeah.
He is like a bitchy, petulant toddler. I mean, who has the luxury of behaving that way that isn't a high schooler playing games when they're dating? You are dealing with it, the fourth largest economy in the world, and you behave this way?
Also, just imagine like the gall of somebody that wants to take out the creators. Like, you don't have to like all of the tech they're creating and all the wacky things that have happened with big tech and everything. But I remember, it could be about 8 years ago now. I remember having breakfast with Thiel in San Francisco when he was still there. And there was one other person there, and we were talking about how he did not want to leave San Francisco. He didn't want to leave. You know what I mean? Like, that was the gold standard of where you could, not only raise a family because it was so cool over there, but like that's where the tech world came. San Francisco used to be an incredible place. He didn't want to. So then you force him to move to San Francisco. You like think of the amount of money it takes to move these massive companies and all the infrastructure and everything else. He gets all of these people to agree once. And now he's got to get them to go all the way across the country. So Newsom is literally chasing people across the United States. It's insane.
It is insane. And he's got some Me Too stuff coming up too. It's one of my stories. I've been wondering when this was going to break out because I hear rumors constantly about his egregious behavior with women.
All right, Drew, why don't you run with that, and we'll end with Scott Adams. That might be a nicer way to end the show anyway. So why don't you go ahead?
Well, it's not a long story, but one Rippy Torque, an at-will employee of Gavin Newsom, and the wife of his best friend, campaign manager. This is now in 2005. She showed up passed out outside Newsom's door, and he was married to Kim Guilfoyle at the time, and this woman says that she was before this. But there's so many. I've spoken to people I know I'm friendly with who've had crazy situations with Newsom. And I keep saying, why? You got to speak up. There's so many people that he's not a good person. And women in particular have suffered at his hands. And they've got to start speaking up and coming forward. People have to be saying Me Too about this because there are going to be a whole number of Me Too types. I'm certain of it.
I mean, the only thing I can add to that specifically is that it's not the amount of known things about this guy are crazy, right? I mean, he had an affair with his best friend, who was his, I think, chief of staff with his wife while he was working for her. Obviously he was married to Guilfoyle.
Stuff. Mind-boggling. This is not normal, like, oh, the guy had a slip. This is really almost on the predatory spectrum. Certainly,
I'm surprised.
I
don't take him as a predator. I take him as a sleaze, and I've heard those kinds of stories about him out in.
You know what's going to happen?
Jillian,
they're going to go, well, you like Clinton, didn't you? He was a good president. Well, he was the same thing.
Yeah.
They
believe
start
all
with that
women,
stuff.
except those women. Yeah. We've seen that before. I think the fraud that they're going to expose will be astounding. I mean, the fact that we could just start with his, isn't it his chief of staff who's being indicted for defrauding the U.S. government?
Yeah.
Let's start there. Or how about the massive land grab of the Pacific Palisades, where once again you've weaponized red tape and made it impossible for residents to rebuild, and now you're seeing people like Grant Cardone and Kennedy come out, not RFK, but Kennedy Saves the World, the comedian, saying like, I'm still not able to rebuild my house, but they passed a law so that you can do low-income housing, so billionaires can grab up the land and build low-income housing and have the red tape and all of the restrictions removed, have it subsidized to the tune of, I guess it was $101 billion. So real quick, think about this for a second. They make it impossible for you to rebuild. You have limitations on your insurance policies, which, by the way, just so happened to vastly... just so happened to pull out of California for so many Angelinos. a few months before the fires. So you tap out. You can't rebuild. You're having to rent. You're still having to pay your mortgage on your lot. These monster corporations come in, they grab the land, and it's under the pretense of low-income housing, which only has to be, I think, like 10 to 15% of the project. And it also expires, those requirements expire, I think, in roughly 50 years. They've basically just stolen the Palisades.
How does
and it's all there.
Trump's new corporations can't own homes run into that? Do you know?
I'm told it doesn't happen, that it's just for the midterms. What do you think, Dee?
Well, I don't know if it's going to happen, but basically Trump is now saying that, these corporations, because that's what we've had a huge amount of BlackRock buying, and other these multinational conglomerates that are buying all these single family homes. And then you wonder why people can't get in on top of high interest rates and everything else. Jillian, everything you said there is completely right. And, they do all these ridiculous environmental surveys. So they care more about the smelt that are in the water than they care about the people and everything else. But look, until Californians really wise up, or the thing just, everyone always says, well, okay, it has to hit rock bottom. The question is, like, what would rock bottom look like? Like, would the whole place freaking implode? You're going to wait for another massive earthquake on top of 10 other, like, cascading problems, and then it's a zombie apocalypse? Like, what does it look like until the day that Dr. Drew says, I have to go?
I tap out. Yeah, we're here in Pasadena, Orange County, or Orange County in particular, is still these sort of holdout where there's quality of life and you're not so much impinged by this craziness. But I don't see how it doesn't. I don't see how it doesn't implode, Dave. It's going to implode in some horrific way. It has to.
Yeah.
Someone needs to do a documentary, because there is just so much you can cover with regard to the homeless fraud and the fire scandals and his personal issues. And it literally, every time I have to talk about this guy, I'm given 5 minutes, whether it's on Fox or it's News Nation or it's Newsmax.
Yeah.
Like, we need 5 hours to cover this.
Yeah.
It's so
and by the
bad.
way, it needs a bunch of investigative journalism, because we're just sort of scratching the surface of what's there. We really don't know how it's getting done on the scale it is done.
But the craziest part of him is not the bad policies. Like, the bad policies are there. They've been there for years. He's doing to Cali what he once did to San Francisco as mayor. The craziness is that he seems to never think he has anything to do with any of it, right? He puts all of these bad policies in. He destroys San Francisco. Then he replicates that. Like, the fact that the guy at the height of COVID, while he was destroying businesses and destroying lives, that he, again, had the gall, that's the only word that you can use, that he had the gall to go to French Laundry and sit with lobbyists indoors without masks while they were shutting down outdoor restaurants. It's like, you should be hiding under a rock for the rest of your life. Instead, you're the leading candidate to be Democrat presidential nominee.
It says everything about the state of the Democratic Party, though. It
Drew,
really does.
Did you want to hit anything else
unfortunate.
before we discuss Scott Adams? Because we lost a good one this week.
Yeah, we'll talk about Scott in a second, but just a brief note. I interviewed Robert Redfield on my streaming show, Ask Dr. Drew, on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 2:42 Pacific, X, look for it on X. And he said, 15% of my patients are vaccine injured. He wrote a book. He said, I couldn't talk. I couldn't talk about it. It was all privilege. There's still a bunch of privileged information I can't talk about. But yeah, it was horrible. There were horrible things done randomly with no evidence, exactly as we all believed. It's precisely what happened. And they certainly did not have bioethical standing for a mandate, let alone being able to recommend the vaccine to anyone other than the very elderly.
I am so happy that I did not get that vaccine. And, we all were under all sorts of pressures and everyone had their reasons, and we don't have to rehash all of that. But there was one day, probably early 21, when I was under so much pressure from family members and just like, everything. I couldn't go into Fox to do, even Fox, which wasn't as crazy as certainly the lefty channels. They wouldn't even let me in there to do debates about COVID and everything else. And there was one day where I finally was just like, maybe, like, am I never going to go to a restaurant again? Am I never? And I was almost going to do it. And thank God I did not. And I'm so happy and that's what I talk about being directionally right about things. I just held on to that belief that this was just a hysteria, and I'm very proud that I did, actually.
And you put money where your mouth is with those lovely dinners up in Encino, where we all gathered.
And then I had my criminal dinners. Jillian, it's a shame we didn't know each other at the time. We had a lot of fun during COVID.
I know. You know what else is a shame is I didn't know any better. I had been taught to blindly trust the science. And at this point in my life, thought like, oh, please, vaccine skeptics were like flat earthers.
Yep.
There's an apology. No,
Yep.
I didn't attack anyone. And I felt like, hey, your body, your choice, and do what you want to do. But I was feeling the pressure. You couldn't travel. You couldn't go to a restaurant. You couldn't work. And I was like, this is ridiculous. It's a freaking vaccine. Like, all right, come on, shoot me up. So, I judge no one, but maybe I apologize to myself for
Real quick,
vaccinating myself.
Did I ever tell you guys the story of my last night in Los Angeles? So we had decided, we moved already. We had sold our house. We're on our way to Florida. And I was like, you know what? I haven't been to a restaurant in like a year. And the restaurant that I loved in LA more than anything else was Boa Steakhouse on Sunset. Drew, I'm sure you've been there. And Jillian, have you been there? Yeah. So I just loved it. The vibe was right. It was indoor, outdoor. It was like a little celebrity, a little LA. It was kind of cool and sexy and whatever. I just loved it. And the steaks were good. So anyway, so you had to have a vaccine passport. So I had somebody make a fake vaccine passport for me. This is my last night in LA. I go there, and already as I'm approaching, I'm already not happy because I didn't like the idea of having like this fraudulent passport to get into a restaurant. So I'm just not in a great mood, even though it was our last night. I get in there, they had closed the bar area because they didn't want people sitting there. So the vibe was gone. They used to do this fun thing with the tableside Caesar throwing plates in the air. They weren't allowed to do that anymore. So they just had stripped the vibe from the place. Anyway, we're having dinner, and I realize that there's like 3 or 4 tables of people that are looking, you guys, like sometimes people recognize me and they're pointing at me and looking at me, whatever. And I realized, I was like, my God, these people think that I'm a liar. Because on my show, obviously, I had told people I was unvaxxed and blah, blah, blah. And here they are. And so I literally went up to 3 tables, and I did it in a funny, jokey way. And I showed them the stupid forged passport. And I was like, just want you to know this is fake. And I was like, man, if there was ever like an obvious example of why I have to get the flying F out of this place, I'm stalking my own fans at restaurants to tell them that I'm not a fraud. Like, I got to go.
It's terrible.
I love that story.
Drew, is it possible that I just fabricated that whole story and I just meant that it was a metaphor? It was
a metaphor for standing up to the man. That's all. That's possible to do so.
I didn't mean that. Jillian, I didn't mean any of that literally. It's a very fabricated story. I think I saw that on Netflix or something. It wasn't my story. I was just personalizing
all right, okay, good, okay, all right. I just want to protect you at all costs because God forbid we lose. It's like we don't have Jordan, we don't have Charlie, we don't have Dennis Prager. Like, we can't afford to lose.
And we don't have Scott Adams. That's the next story here. Everybody, Scott Adams, who was a really important player.
Did you guys, so yeah, let's finish up with Scott. Did you guys, I assume you both knew him or had interacted with him at least?
I didn't know him.
I knew him well.
You told me about him, Doc.
I knew him well. I found him. I found him on podcast. I was so fascinated. I knew nothing about persuasion and hypnosis, which was sort of his thing initially. And I was on Greg Gutfeld's show when it was one night a week. It was Saturday night show. It was sort of between Red Eye and what it is now for about a couple of years. And I was in there and I brought up Scott Adams and he goes, oh my God, have you seen his Periscope that he does every morning? I thought, oh no, I'm going to look at this. And ever since then, I've been listening to him at 7 o'clock in the morning. He moved to YouTube and X and other places and Rumble and Locals. And he has really helped make sense of the world. He created so many frames that we don't even realize them anymore. Things like Trump derangement syndrome. That's something he pointed out. Hoaxopoly, all the hoaxes. He made a list of all the hoaxes we've been through and then how they did it. And then he alerted us to Mike Benz and Mike Cernovich and all these guys that are dissecting how we got here. He's been just a great resource. He died recently of prostate cancer. It was stunning to see people, the way they get, like, have you tried this? You should try that. You're dumb for not taking it. Cancer is a serious illness, people. It kills people. And if there was something to be done, trust me, we would have done it. Everything possible was done. And last story I have on Scott, aside from the fact that he'll be missed, I urge people to go look at. He's still got a channel up where all of his old. I went back to like September of this year and listened to a pod or a stream this morning, and I learned something again. I mean, he just has such insights on everything that was going on in the world. I got to know him really because the reason I had to take the vaccine is I was going to Europe in the middle of COVID, and I couldn't get on a plane, and I couldn't get into Europe, but I had to have these effing things. And I took the J&J, of course, and the day before it got pulled off the market, I had a horrible reaction to it. Anyway, different story. And I'm sitting in the shower, and I'm thinking, and I hear Scott go, "Oh, I'm having the trip of a lifetime. He had just married Christina. Like, we're going to go on the trip of a lifetime." And I thought to myself, he's going where I'm going. He's going to Greece. It just popped in my head. And so I DM'd him. I go, "Hey, Scott, where are you going?" "Greece." "Where exactly going?" "Santorini, same island I'm going to." We ended up effing flying on the same plane to the same spot, and we're there the same period of time and had dinner like 3 or 4 nights while we were there, and that's where I really got to know him. And it was
I know he didn't like climbing the stairs at that resort. That's what he once told me.
He wanted windows. They didn't have enough windows. I don't know why, but that resort that he was at was the fancy one. We were down the road a ways, but he didn't like it. But he will be missed. Trust me. Like, you can't. Me and Greg Gutfeld, who is also a dear friend of his, we just lament about this all the time.
You know, Scott, I did know Scott pretty well, mostly from interviewing him at first. And then when we started Locals, and I realized that, you know, it was going to be something bigger than just creating a community for me, but we could spin it off to other people. He was either the first or second person I talked to. He absolutely loved it. And by him jumping on board, it suddenly gave me this confidence that, like, oh, this guy who really gets it, who's done incredible things, he's interested in this, and he started using it. That really helped us. Then he became an investor. So then I really was like, wow, we have this guy so he was integral in a really important part of my life, and also offering guidance and helping us troubleshoot things and everything else. But I really can say this, you know, I had Erin Milan, who you guys have probably seen on the show this morning. She's Australian, but she was here in Miami. And we were kind of joking about like the long list of crazy people that I've worked for, been in, you know, between Candace and Cenk and Anna, and just the lunatics that but Scott was one of the good ones. Like, you guys are the good ones. And Scott was one of the good ones. You could learn a tremendous amount from him. And, you know, to watch him in these last couple of days, I did text him maybe 4 days ago, and he didn't respond. Obviously, it was right at the end. We had spoke about a few weeks ago.
He taught us how to understand our world. He taught us how to live, and then he showed us how to die and die with dignity, right to the end.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, try to imagine, you know, your last few days here, knowing that it's coming. Like, there's nothing they can do. He was, you know, he only spent, I think, barely a day in hospice even. So it was very quick.
He was people got that one wrong. Hospice is not a place. It's a team that comes in, and they came in weeks ago when it was clear nothing more could be done. Yeah.
Oh, I thought, okay, so then maybe I read something wrong, or it was.
You did. That went out. That story went out. That was wrong. It was just wrong.
Oh, okay. So
more fake news.
But the point is that he knew the end was coming, and you could see in his last few live streams, you know, his voice was getting weaker and his demeanor and all those things. But you know, to have the wherewithal to do what you love, quite literally to the last moments, is an absolutely incredible thing.
And making meaning all the way to the end, and then having the opportunity to hear the testimonials of all of us and for what he meant to us was it was an incredible thing to be a part of. It makes me feel like, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, like we've got to come up with some more live events where people can form community. People are hungry for that. I don't know what we should do, but something where we all speak and get to know people. Something we need to do it, kind of a la Charlie. Something.
Yeah, well, I think something. You know, one of my original ideas with this show was that if we start doing this right and it picks up enough steam, which it is picking up now, is that we could start doing, you know, kind of Rat Pack type shows. There can be music, there can be some political banter, you know, we can have some drinks on stage. It can be involved with the crowd. And
you know what the model should be? The model should be Kill Tony. That's the model.
Awesome.
You bring people up and hear their opinions, and then take them apart,
and then we beat them senseless. Yeah. But look, you referenced this a minute ago, but like, you know, this last year, Charlie Kirk is gone. Jordan Peterson is MIA for health issues. Dennis Prager has taken a terrible spill in his he's doing a few more videos now, which is great. So, maybe we'll get him back to some capacity. Scott Adams is gone now. Even this is a different take, but, Bongino was removed from the public sphere because of his work. So we lost his voice in this sphere. And so when you see that everything has gone so crazy, well, a lot of good people have been removed from the chessboard, but that makes our job all the more important, I suppose. Jillian, chime in
Victor
here.
Davis. Well, okay, I never met
Victor Davis
Scott.
Hansen, yeah.
Well, he's okay. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't
I
either.
always go through his team, but the man is an absolute treasure.
Yes.
I agree.
I don't know what's going on. I don't want to pry too much, but God forbid something happens to him. He is a genius and a wealth of knowledge and a lovely human. And I literally think about him every day. Victor, if you see this, I'm thinking about you every day. I did not know Scott, and I'm sad that I didn't. I feel like I really missed out. But
Victor should be moved up into
oh my God, he's just
prominent
he's incredible.
position. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I would simply say, Drew, is when I was listening to you talk about how you reached out to him and you were both going to Greece. I don't know what is going on with me lately. Like, I don't subscribe to any organized religion. But okay,
hormonal.
Maybe it's that. But I was thinking that was like a gift from God.
Yes. And it's funny because he would say it's a sign of the simulation. But be careful, everybody. Just because we change the words, we're talking about the same stuff. We're talking about the same things. Be really judicious and careful with the concepts, and realize we're all talking about the same thing.
Well, did you see that last live stream that he did? And, there's always the famous phrase of there's no atheists in foxholes. And this is a guy who was a lifelong atheist in essence, but then he sort of broke it down why at the end he was converting to Christianity, which it sounds like he was able to do, if I understand the story correctly. But he talks about it sort of with risk reward, that there's no risk in doing it, but there's a massive reward, in
there's
essence,
a name
if he gets to sit in the kingdom of heaven.
There's a name for it. It's called Pascal's wager. Pascal, a very famous French philosopher way back, and he was an atheist, and he said, but you know what? That makes no sense, because on one hand, me maintaining atheism doesn't really change, doesn't offer me much of anything, but if I miss this wonderful opportunity, I miss it all. I lose everything. So he took the wager, and that's what Scott did. Also, he had a lot of people leaning on him too, a lot of his friends, but it was Pascal's wager.
There were a series of debates a couple of years ago that were live events, kind of similar to maybe what we should all be doing, where Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris debated everything, but a lot of it came down to atheism versus belief. And what Jordan kept trying to get across to Sam, which I think is right, and it doesn't mean you have to believe in this religion or this doctrine or that doctrine, but Jordan basically was saying, you are a believer whether you believe it or not, meaning everyone has a code that you are taking a leap of faith to believe in, which is what allows you to function in the world.
Even if you believe the laws of physics will continue to operate in the next 5 minutes.
Right. So Jordan's version of it that I love, because to me it's the most sort of literal humanist version, is Jordan says that when he was in his 20s, he said, I will tell the truth for the truth's sake, meaning that if I tell the truth, if I add order to the world, that the best of all things will happen. It doesn't mean that good things will happen, but by not telling the truth, it can only be worse. To do that, to say, I will say something that is true because I believe that the truth is important, that actually is a leap of faith. People don't think of it in sort of like a religious sense of leap of faith. But I think that's right. So
faith is faith. And
Scott will be missed is the point.
One last thing. The Pope, was it John Paul, the one everyone loves so much? He put out an encyclical. He was trying to reconcile. He was a very smart guy. The Polish Pope. What was his name? I can't remember. Anyway, he was trying to reconcile faith and reason. And he put out an encyclical, and it finally said, faith and reason are the two wings upon which the human being ascends to the contemplation of truth. I just thought that was so beautiful. I never forgot it. The faith and reason, two wings to which we ascend to the truth.
There are two things, and in most people, they're grappling all the time, right? Like there are two things happening. There's like what's here and now and what's eternal, and you hopefully have a healthy fight going on in your head. Maybe that's what's happening with you right now, Jillian. It's not hormonal.
It's something. I'm definitely off my rocker today. We should probably end here, Dave.
It has been a pleasure, my friends.
Might as well.
I'll see you in a few days.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.